Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Laki and I teach trauma-informed yoga. I teach to people who are incarcerated or in drug and alcohol rehabilitation programs. I also teach to mental health patients in a hospital. I'm an author of a book called A Girl Raised by Wolves, which is where I share my story of healing from being sexually trafficked by my father when I was a child and just various other things that I've been through in my life. And what I really focus on in this book is my healing journey, right? So, what I wanted to come on and do a video for is I want to lead a guided meditation that can help people who are really having a hard time with all of the stuff going on. But that said, the meditation that I do is a little bit different in that because I work with people who have experienced trauma, whether they've inflicted it on someone or it was inflicted on them, the meditation that I offer, it's different in that it's not about being still, right? So um, if you have if you've experienced trauma, if you're like me and you have anxiety and ADHD and have a really hard time when someone says, "Hey, let's all sit still," and that doesn't sound like a good idea, this meditation may help you. Because my meditations that I offer are not about being still, right? They're about finding stillness. So the people that I work with, sometimes they have a really hard time getting still and coming within, right? Going in this mythical idea, or it seems mythical to people like us who have experienced trauma, have ADHD, and all that stuff. It seems mythical, the idea of finding stillness or being still, right? The meditation that I'm about to lead you through is a guided meditation and it's a body scan. And it's about just becoming reconnected into your body. And a lot of people who have experienced trauma have a really hard time with this. And that's why I say this is about finding stillness, not being still, right? I can punish someone into being still, like be still, don't move, or there will be a consequence, right? That is not meditation. The meditation that I'm offering is if you need to move, if you need to wiggle, if you need to fidget, do that and then come back. Come back into the sound of my voice, your connection that you're making with your body. Because when you have permission to sort of go out and come back, I don't mean get up and walk away. I mean go out like your mind gets distracted, but you have the ability to bring yourself back. It can change your whole relationship to meditation. I know this for a fact because this is how I came to meditation. I hated meditation. I hated yoga. I hated any kind of mindful practice when I was first introduced to it. My plan was I was going to break it. I was going to break these practices so that people understood that I was right and the world was wrong, right? Haha. It didn't work out that way. I'm now a certified yoga teacher and I teach trauma-informed yoga. So much for me being right, right? But that said, I want to give you a chance to just sort of settle in and try a meditation from this perspective, right? So the meditation that I'm about to teach you, you can sit any way you want. What I suggest is at least in the beginning, you put your feet flat on the floor, maybe put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, roll your shoulders back, just to begin, right? If you have a bad back, sit with your back against the chair. If you want to lay down on the floor or on the couch, do that. It really doesn't matter what situation you're in physically. I do suggest, however, that just in the beginning, feet flat on the floor, one hand on chest, one hand on belly, just because it helps you to sort of settle in. Once you're settled in, and you'll know you're settled in because you'll know. Then if you want to move around or adjust or maybe sit back or cross your legs, then feel free to do that, right? Because again, this is about finding stillness. It's about being able to connect to that moment when you can go, oh, this is what she's talking about, rather than sitting there feeling punished or feeling restricted, trying to do something that your body is not accustomed to, right? So that said, let's try this out. So all I want you to do is get into that comfortable situation, if you can, one hand on chest, one hand on belly, roll the shoulders back, maybe put your feet flat on the floor. Come into your breath. And when I say come into your breath, what I mean is when you feel ready, if you want to close your eyes, then close them. If you don't want to close your eyes and you just want to watch me, I'm not doing anything special, but if you need to watch me, watch me. When you're ready, Close your mouth so you can inhale and exhale through your nose. And just begin to breathe. Just begin to connect to your breath. As you connect to your breath, maybe take a moment and start listening to the sounds that you hear outside of my voice. Don't try to connect to the sound. Don't try to identify the sound. Just notice that's a sound. And then move to the next sound. And then move to the next. And then move to the next. Until you can come into yourself and be comfortable with the sound of my voice. So just keep doing that, going from sound to sound to sound until you get to inside to you. And then from here, what I want you to do is just notice your body. Notice anywhere that you can feel your body touching whatever you're sitting on or laying on. Just make that connection. See what it feels like to be aware of your back touching the chair, maybe of your shoulders lowered down a little bit, maybe of your breath in your body. Just feel that connection. Nothing to do with it. Just feel it. Just notice that it's there. And then take a moment to just check in with your breath. See how your breath feels in your body. If your breath feels tight when you inhale or it feels restrictive in any kind of way, even if I say to take a deep breath, don't take a deep breath. Rather, slow your breath down. See if you can stretch it out. See if you can expand your breath. And how do you do that? Well, if you feel that tightness in your chest when you try to inhale, instead of forcing a breath in, just slowly be with the breath that you have. Take whatever kind of breath you can that feels good to you, but just make it as slow and as long as you can. And that's your inhale. As you exhale, do the same thing. Let it be as slow and as long as you need it to be. Because when you can start to slow down, especially if you have one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, and maybe you have your feet flat on the floor, when you can breathe like that and get really connected to it, what happens is everything starts to slow down. Your blood pressure, your body, your heart rate, your brain, your thoughts. So all of those thoughts that are racing around, we want to slow them down, not fix them. I'm very fortunate. I do not work with broken people. So this is not about fixing anything. This is about just noticing, bearing witness, and giving yourself the opportunity to just set it aside for a second. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mention a bunch of different body parts. And all I want you to do is notice the body part. Maybe move a little bit if I invite you to move your body part. Just notice it, notice what you feel, notice what's there, and then move on to the next one. Okay? And again, if you need to fidget or adjust, do that and just come back to the sound of my voice. You literally can't do this wrong. Okay? So, just hang out. Continue breathing your inhale and your exhale, whatever feels good to you. And we're just going to start at the top of your head. So all I want you to do is just notice the top of your head. Do you feel air on the top of your head? Do you have a ponytail? Do you have a hat? Do you have braids? Like, what's going on the top of your head? Do you have a headache? Or maybe you didn't and you do now, or vice versa? Just notice it. There's nothing to fix. And then from here, what I want you to do is bring your attention to those two muscles right in between your eyebrows. Some people hold a ton of stress in these two muscles. To find out if you're one of those people who maybe is holding stress there, what I want you to do is lift and lower your eyebrows, right? Some people can do it one eyebrow at a time. I can't. Do whatever works for you. But just lift and lower your eyebrows a couple of times and see how that feels when they rest. See if you feel a release. If you do, it's great news. It means that that's a place where maybe your body holds stress, and now you know a way to relieve that stress. And if you don't feel anything there, if you don't feel any kind of release, that's great news. It means that at least for right now, in this moment, you don't feel stress there. So either way, it's kind of good news. And now what I want you to do is bring your attention down to your jaw. Open your mouth and let your lower jaw move from left to right a couple of times. Not pushing or shoving, just gently let your lower jaw move from side to side. And then when you feel ready, close your mouth and notice if you feel a little release in your jaw, right? When you feel that release, it releases stress in your body, and some people hold a lot of stress in their jaw. If you are a person who grinds your teeth at night when you sleep, or you talk like you grit your teeth when you talk, then you might be a person who holds stress there. The great news about this is if you had stress there and now you feel a little release, people who hold stress here, a lot of my inmates that I work with hold stress here and they don't have the option to just go get some aspirin. So when they learn this, they realize that hinging your jaw, meaning tightening it up, and then loosening it can alleviate headaches. It can alleviate backaches and neck aches. And it can just, in general, help you to manage your own stress level on your own without having to talk about it or take any medicine, right? It's just one of the things you can do. So another thing now, I want you to close your mouth. Notice if you feel any movement there or any release. And then bring your attention down to your neck, right? So maybe bring an ear toward a shoulder or gently turn your head a little bit from side to side. Maybe look up, exaggerate looking up so that you can stretch the front of your neck. And then look down, bring your chin down toward your chest. And just notice how that feels. Notice if you can create like 5% more length in your neck. See if you can open it up a little bit. And then from here, bring your attention to your shoulders. When you bring your attention to your shoulders, all I want you to do is move with your breath. So as you inhale, I want you to draw your shoulders up around your ears. And as you exhale, see if you can gently press your shoulders away from your ears, making space in between your collarbones, right? Like your collarbones are right here. See if you can make space between them. And then again, let's do that a couple more times. So as you inhale, draw your shoulders up around your ears. And as you exhale, very gently release. And do that one more time. Inhale, draw your shoulders up around your ears. Feel how tight that is. Feel that little turtle thing that we do, right? And then as you exhale, release it, let all of that go, and notice how you feel now. Notice if that opened anything up for you. If it did, great. Now you just learned something you can do. If it didn't, that's okay too. It just tells me that you're awake and you're clear and you're present to what's going on in your body. So from here, I want you to bring your attention to your chest and just notice how your breath feels moving in and out of your body. If you feel that tightness in your chest, don't try to take a deep breath. Just don't even bother. It's counterproductive. Instead, just slow your breath down, right? So if you feel that tightness in your chest, right? If you feel that one of my guys in one of my programs says he feels like there's rocks in his chest and he feels like the air has to sort of navigate its way through the rocks, right? Which is very descriptive, actually. See how it occurs for you when you inhale. And if it feels perfectly fine, then great, it feels perfectly fine, right? But all I ask you to do is just start slowing everything down, right? Not fixing, slowing down. Because when you slow it down, you make room. You make room for other stuff to come up, right? You make room for the breath to actually flow naturally through your body. And believe it or not, that is a huge way to manage stress, right? So from here, what I want you to do is bring your attention to your rib cage. Maybe even put your hands on your rib cage, right? So if you can't see, put your hands right on your rib cage. And when you put your hands on your rib cage like this, if you can, inhale and exhale and see how it feels for your breath to flow through your body. See if you can pay attention, even if it's just for a second or two. See if you can pay attention to what it feels like when your body moves with the flow of your breath. It's a small movement for most of us. But for someone who has experienced trauma, this can be a big deal because it brings you back into your body and it brings you present to what's going on. From here, you can keep your hands on your ribs if you like, or you can just bring your hands down to your sides or back onto your thighs. But from here, what I suggest that you do is notice your hips, right? See if you need to adjust or move your body in any way that opens up your hips a little bit more. If you're laying down, maybe you straighten your legs, right, if they were bent, or you move them in a different way. If you're sitting down, maybe you move your feet or cross or uncross your legs. But just notice if there's any way you can bring your attention to your hips. And inside of bringing your attention to your hips, do you feel something? Does it feel good, right? That's what I want you to notice. What do you feel in your hips? And then from there, bring your attention to the clothing on your legs, right? If you're wearing pants or something is on your legs, you know, or even if it's just the air touching the skin of your legs if you're wearing shorts, just notice it and see what it feels like. Like quite often, the guys that I work with and the women come in jeans, right? So I'll always say, like, see if you can feel the seam of your clothing against the skin of your leg. Because if you can, it just brings you more present. And then from here, see if you can notice your feet inside your socks, inside your shoes, inside of whatever you got going on your feet. And wiggle your toes a little bit. When you wiggle your toes, it brings you present back into your body, right? So wiggle your toes and see how that feels to wake up that awareness, to wake up that connection. And then from here, sit back, lay down, relax, do whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that you're comfortable. And see if, just for a second, can you notice anywhere that your body is touching whatever's holding you up. So the mat, the chair, the couch, the bed, whatever it is. See if you can notice anywhere that your body is making connection to that piece of furniture or that rug or the floor. And just notice what it feels like to be connected. Notice what it feels like to allow yourself to be supported by whatever it is that you're sitting or lying down on. Notice what it feels like to just let your body get heavy and just sort of sink into whatever it is that's holding you up. And just feel it and just be with it for a second. And as you do this, I want you to bring your attention now to your thoughts, right? So for some of us, our thoughts are racing, or we have one thought that we keep coming back to. So what I would like you to do is notice your thoughts, but try not to connect to the emotion surrounding the thought, right? Just see if you can notice the pattern of your thoughts. And inside of this, what that looks like is, I want you to notice, are your thoughts running around your brain and moving around like monkeys in a jungle, going from vine to vine to vine? If you're doing that, if you're having thoughts occur like that, that's what Buddhist monks call the monkey mind, right? I call it an anxious mind. And the other way that a person could think or have their thoughts come is if you are feeling one thought keeps coming back, like the rent is due, the rent is due, the rent is due, right? It keeps coming back and it keeps coming back. Whatever that thought is, if your brain is getting stuck on that thought, that's another way to look at the patterns of the way your thoughts are occurring, right? So what I invite you to do is to remember, or if you didn't know, now you know, anxiety lives in the future, right? He better be there, or she better be there, or that phone better ring, or they better have the answer that I want, right? That's anxiety lives in the future. Depression lives in the past. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, if only. If you can start to notice how your thoughts are occurring, what the pattern that they're occurring in is, you can start to sort of dismantle internal dialogues. You can start to dismantle conversations. So all I want you to notice is, how are your thoughts occurring? What does it look like? How are they occurring? What does it feel like? What does it feel like in your body when you start to notice how your thoughts are occurring? Right? Again, there's nothing to fix. You're not doing anything wrong. Right? There's nothing to fix. There's no good or bad. There's just feelings. There's just emotions. There's just thoughts. So if you can connect to them from the realm of they're not good or bad, they're just what you're feeling, it can make it a lot easier to bring yourself down. Right? So instead of trying to fix, instead of trying to force an outcome, maybe we just go with it and go, wow, that's really interesting. I am obsessed right now about X. Right? Or I can't stop thinking about that thing that happened 10 years ago. And maybe give yourself, just for a moment, give yourself a space. Give yourself one breath, one inhale and one exhale to just let it simmer. Let it sort of settle on its own. One of the best ways that you can manage yourself in a time like this, in a world like this, is to manage your anxiety, is to manage what you have going on, and see if you can maybe, instead of trying to white knuckle your way through something or trying to fix or force an outcome, maybe just sort of sit back and say, okay, this is what I was dealt, right? Now how am I going to deal with it? I'm never going to tell anyone that I work with that you have to like your situation. because that's kind of bullshit. You don't have to like it. But if you can learn to live with it, learn to live in partnership with it, and learn to set your own boundaries for yourself, meaning before my thoughts start to get like completely out of control, I'm going to bring them back in to myself. I'm going to level the playing ground, the playing field, and then I'm going to start to choose what I'm going to think and what I'm going to hold on to. That's what can get you through. And I know this for a fact because I work with inmates, I work with people who don't have the resources of self-medicating or, you know, running out and taking a vacation, right? The people that I work with, they don't have a lot of resources, so we have to use what we have. And what we have is this. We have our thoughts, we have our considerations, we have our body, and we can work with that to help manage and self-regulate. So all I want you to do now is just notice whatever came up for you, and then take a breath. Take whatever breath feels good to you. Take an inhale and an exhale. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, maybe turn your head a little bit from side to side if you feel good about doing that. And then bring yourself back and let me know how this went for you, because as this whole self-quarantine thing goes on, I want to start doing more videos. And I know this one was a little long, but I think it's important. And I just want to be able to support people in getting what they need out of this. And if it means doing videos, which I am not a fan of, but I'll do them because I think it's important. And I think we need to stick together and we need to support one another. And what I would love for you to do is send me a note. I'm going to post this video on like Instagram and whatever my pages are. So on Instagram, I'm at Laki Maisonneuve. And you can Google Laki Maisonneuve to find out how to spell Laki Maisonneuve. And on Facebook, my page is A Girl Raised by Wolves, which is the name of my book. And you can absolutely, please send me a note and let me know if you tried this meditation, if it worked for you, if it felt good, if anything came up, if you were able to settle your thoughts, and let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, because I can build from that, right? So again, the idea of my meditation or the meditations that I offer is not about fixing you or about you being still. My meditations are about being able to connect and self-regulate. And you can't do that if you're trying to force an outcome of being still and sitting in a perfect way and, you know, not moving your body or whatever. It just doesn't, that's not real life, right? So I want to show you what I do with the people who are, who have experienced trauma, and that I know that this helps them because they keep coming back to my class, right? And these are people who, when they first walk into my class, want nothing to do with me, and I totally get it because they don't know me. And until they do, they don't feel comfortable, and then when they do, we're all good. So please come and check me out on these social media pages, Instagram and Facebook under Laki Maisonneuve and or under A Girl Raised by Wolves, and we'll get through this together. Thank you.